Hello, podcast listener. Hope you're ready to listen about people talking about reading and a bunch of other stuff. You're going to like it. I'm ready for this episode to start. Just push go, Tucker. Now, go. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called J.J. Meets World.
Tucker, this is kind of a weird philosophical question and statement to start the pod off today, but it got me thinking the other day because we have a lot of clocks at work because time is important, right? And we have one clock that the batteries have run out and it has been stuck at like 9:48 for the last week.
AM or PM?
Well, I don't know because it's a 12-hour clock. It's an analog. Yeah,
analog.
And I have ironically, I have a clock in my office that also has stopped, and this one has stopped at 9:34 and 44 seconds.
It sounds like your whole office is experiencing time dilation.
Well, okay, so that's the thing is there's something sort of weirdly beautiful and interesting when you see a clock that has stopped, right? Like time stopped for this thing and it notes the exact moment of its own demise.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is the thing I'm thinking about right now.
Yeah, we know the last time it was working was at 9:48.
Right? Isn't that kind of weird to think about that?
Yeah.
Be like if someone tattooed that on a corpse. Right? And been like, oh, yep,
Imagine the days when they're like, sundial's not working today. It's cloudy. Who knows what time it is? No idea.
I have a philosophy about sundials. Would you like to hear it?
Sure.
Sundials were only for the rich. They were only for the rich, and the rich didn't care. They were like, that's why you see most sundials were on bird baths. Because they were like, oh, we'd rather have birds drinking and fluttering around than care about what time it is.
Yeah. How did you organize back in the meetings?
Yeah. Well, and like, how did you if this were Huckleberry Finn time, how did you know what time to get to school? Or was it just like, all right, children, the dew is about to melt off the grass. It's time to learn about our nation's 5 states. Right? I mean, there's probably maybe I don't know what time is. I don't know what time those books are said. I read an interesting article that I wanted to bring up, which was they talked about the top 10 most taught books in 2025 compared to the top 10 most taught books in 1989. Okay. So this survey was done amongst something like 6,000 educators across the country, and they just put this list together to kind of show how much we've changed and how much we haven't changed. So when you think back to like the stuff that you had to read in high school, I think that there's probably a lot of universals, right? Like there's a lot of things that people read no matter where you went to school. And there's some things that clearly we read that was, regional, or you had a teacher who was particularly passionate about one thing or another, right?
Right. Yeah. And there were always the classics for sure.
Like
the tent poles, like Tale of Two Cities. Like, oh, well, of course you're going to go over that at some point in English class.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Did you read A Tale of Two Cities?
I did. Yeah.
I think we read Oliver Twist. But I don't think we read A Tale of Two Cities.
Yeah, we did. I mean, were you in advanced English?
I was not.
I was. So there you go.
Do you want to know? Like, I stayed out of advanced English because I wanted Mary Warner to be my English teacher, and
What?
she didn't teach that. And she was like she was, oh my god, I had her for English all 3 years. She was also the principal's wife. She was an amazing woman. Oh my god, I loved Mary Warner so much. In fact, like, still to this day, I think, what an amazing teacher. Okay, so in 1989, these are the top 10 in order from 10 to 1, okay?
Okay.
Lord of the Flies, The Great Gatsby, Hamlet, Of Mice and Men, The Scarlet Letter, To Kill a Mockingbird, Julius Caesar, Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, Macbeth, and Romeo and Juliet.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
I mean that was very much what I read
right?
through in
A lot
elementary
of
school
Shakespeare.
through
A lot
high
of
school.
Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly enough, you get to 2025 and you're starting to see, like, teachers fire back at a world where, where kids need to be the ones to light the flame of protest, light the flame of injustice. And so, starting at number 10 in 2025, Frankenstein, Fahrenheit 451, Hamlet, Night, To Kill a Mockingbird, Of Mice and Men, Macbeth, The Crucible, The Great Gatsby, Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, that's not that super different from
No, I mean,
a
Romeo
lot
and
of what
Juliet's
we
still
read
on that
too.
list.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Great
right?
Gatsby, we read that. Yeah,
I think, like, things to note are, like, Lord of the Flies falls off the list. Fahrenheit 451 ends up on there. Frankenstein ends up on that new list.
You know what I'm
Huckleberry Finn
realizing
is
though?
gone. It goes from 3 to nothing.
Yeah, what I'm realizing though just now is that just by number of books, I read far more books in elementary school than I did throughout junior high and high school, and by an order of magnitude. And obviously part of that is because I was reading at a lower level. But Horace Mann, I'm pretty sure I've talked about it on the podcast before. Is we had this program every year called Battle of the Books, and it was always between the 5th grade and the 6th grade, and so there would be like a required reading list, but the required reading list was like pretty long and fairly dense. I remember. I'm making the casual observation that I'm kind of surprised that my elementary school years actually put more of a focus on reading than my middle school, my junior high and high school years.
I would say, to an extent, though, like, there's a little bit of a difference, right? Like,
there's a difference in the level of the text, like, for sure. But at the same time, I'm just thinking about the quality of instruction that I received. It was always, all right, let's read the book. Hey, what happened? And then they moved on, right? Like, at least my teachers did. I didn't have the experience that you did. I had an experience for the most part where they were like, yep, hey, guess what? We're reading this book now. Hey, does anyone remember what happened in this chapter? All right, and here's your test, and we're done. So, like,
yeah,
even like there was more of a
with that statement.
I'm just saying from what I experienced. You may have had a different experience entirely. That's just what I went through, and I was pretty I credit my elementary school, Horace Mann, at putting just a very big emphasis on reading, which, by the way, the Reaper has finally come for Horace Mann after all these years, and within less than a year they'll be tearing down that building, and end of an era for a lot of us.
Do you think that maybe, okay, so I want to get into your elementary school for a second because I've been meaning to talk about this, but do you think maybe one of the reasons why people, like, either kids get into reading or don't get into reading is those books, those first, like, chapter books you read, some of them are the most entertaining books you'll ever read, and most of the time it's written from a perspective you can identify with.
Yeah.
You're reading about, Encyclopedia Brown, and you are roughly the same age as Encyclopedia Brown, and he's solving mysteries, making you think you can solve mysteries.
Right. Hell yeah. I loved Encyclopedia Brown. Big Encyclopedia Brown kid.
The Mrs. Pigglewiggle series featured kids that would have been the age that were reading those books.
Yeah, I think what you're kind of maybe talking about correct me if I'm wrong, but that the most effective strategy to get a kid to read is to find what makes that kid interested in reading versus saying, hey, you have to read this specific book. Like if you can find, oh, well, this kid's really into race cars and I want to get them into reading. Well, hey, here's some books on race cars. And you start from there. I think that the Horseman had a really just good culture of just getting kids excited about reading in general, even though there was like a reading list. Oftentimes there wasn't. And that's, I think, how we benefited. I was an edge case, though, because the moment I could start reading, I already loved reading. So, like, my teachers didn't have to work hard for me at all to really fall in love with reading. But I think the kids that I knew that weren't into it and then got into it is because the teacher kind of met them at their level and said, hey, here's how you can get something out of reading, versus saying, hey, guess what you're reading now? Tale of Two Cities.
And given, I also am a believer that, and I might get some heat for this, but like,
ooh,
you don't, like, just because something has been read for a long time doesn't mean it continues to be. That's one of the reasons I like this comparison list from 1989 to 2025, because like, I love to say this all the time. We used to poop in buckets, right? And so we don't anymore. We have bathrooms and indoor plumbing, and it's great. But like, there's so many people who are like, oh, well, we just need to keep doing this. This is the way we need to do it. And we've always read these books, so we got to continue to read these books. Well, sometimes they write something that's better. I mean, more understanding. There's a children's book series called No David that is about like a naughty little boy, and the artwork in it is horrific. I want to say the artwork is from the same guy who did the Stinky Cheese Man.
Oh, the Stinky
series.
Cheese Man. Okay, yeah.
And right, and like, do you remember kind of how
hell yeah
grotesque that art was in a way?
I'm pretty sure I have a copy of that lying around here somewhere, actually.
Oh, see, good
I think
for
in a
you,
box
buddy.
somewhere. Yeah. Oh, I loved the Stinky Cheese Man because it was a whole parody of the Gingerbread Man.
Yep. And he was just a piece of stinky cheese and he was running around. And he was a little jerk. So yeah, just throw that out there as one of those things of like, sometimes we just need to evolve a little bit, and we need to evolve in what we're reading and what we're pushing others to read.
And I think there's another side of this too that's worth bringing up. You and I have not necessarily had to face this yet because neither of us has children, but that notion of screen time versus not screen time, and the actual mental, physical benefits you could have from unplugging from an electric device, halfway through your day, and maybe at the end of the day reading an actual physical book, or even an e-ink reader, but something that gives you that more physical in front of you feeling, and kind of helps your brain slow down a bit. That's actually a superpower that so many of us we've lost it because we're so used to we're not a textual generation anymore. We're a mass media generation. I'm trying to remember who it was. It was probably just some random YouTube video I stumbled upon while I've been living in my cave here. But they were talking about the Lincoln Douglas debates back in the day, where Lincoln and Douglas would travel the country debating, and they would debate for like 6 hours at a time in front of large audiences. And the large audiences would sit there for that amount of time because they were people who were raised on reading books. That's all they had, right?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even really have radio or anything. So they had a level of focus that could last for a very, very long time. I was raised with Nintendo and television. And so while I have a better focus ability than maybe newer generations might have, I was, there's no way I'm sitting through a 6-hour debate out in the heat, right?
I mean, I will say this once and for all, which is I've tried e-readers, even because like you think, okay, well, there's a way to bridge between these things, right? Like get kids reading, but we'll get them on an e-reader. It's just not the same. It's just not, and if an e-reader is your thing and it's convenient and you found yourself reading more because of it, that's great. It's just
Yep.
not for me.
Yep.
It's
Nope. Yep.
it's like a manual and an automatic vehicle, right? Some people like one, some people like the other. Some can do both. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, when I had an e-reader for a brief period of time. Actually, I still have it, but it has a big gouge that got cut into like the screen, so I don't use it anymore. But I found when I was using it, what I really liked was for either like basically renting books that I know I don't want to own, or if it would be specifically more for like essays or articles and things like that that were on the internet, I kind of like saving them to the e-reader and then reading it at that way. It was just easier on my eyes and it kind of felt cool, felt nice. But I, like you, I do prefer the physical printed book in my hands.
Are you somebody who likes to read a book, but like at a particular time? Like I know people who only read right before they go to bed. Like that's their time when they read.
That's when I do it the most often. But I would say at this moment, I don't have a strong enough habit of reading like every day or at a certain time of day. But for sure, my preferred time would be at the end of the day.
Hmm. At the end of the day, huh? Like it's like
At
a
the end
wind
of the
down.
day, it's a wind down. I've been getting into bed really early with all of this being in a cave, and I've been waking up at like 5 a.m.
Oh wow.
Um, And so because I've been waking up just naturally at like 5 a.m., I have been doing some morning reading, and it's been nice. It's been nice. It's been nice to do that instead of going straight to, the news or my notifications. What do you do when you wake up in the morning, JJ?
The first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I get up, I use the bathroom, I usually splash some water on my face, something like that, because I don't have this like, oh, I'll just stretch and kind of look around for a little bit, and
Uh,
I like it's just like going to sleep, right? I lay down, I put my head on the pillow, I'm asleep. When I wake up, I am up,
yeah,
and
JJ activated,
bingo, exactly, right? Like
living protocol engaged.
once you get, I'm like a lawnmower. Once I'm up, I'm cutting grass, baby. Uh, so, but for me, the most interesting thing about my morning, when it comes down to it, is once I am up, it like I'm up, and I change my routine all the time. So if you're like, oh, what do you do every single day? Well, some days I'll go outside and I'll pick my phone up and I'll start reading some news articles and stuff from the day, and then the next day I'll be like, oh no, I decided to go for a 2 mile long walk. And the next day, it's like, oh nope, JJ decided to take a really long shower, and
Mm,
so I vary my routine
yeah.
so much that it's interesting. And lately, I've kind of changed my nighttime routine too, which
Mm,
is, it used to be that I'd always kind of go to bed at the same time, and now I'm only going up to bed when I'm ready to go to bed.
yeah. How are you still getting a lot of hammock time?
I certainly am. I really love that hammock in my backyard. The only downside is it started to rain, and like it's
Mm,
these fibers hold on to water for so long, and so I'll sit on that thing, and then after a while I'll feel like I'm really sweaty.
yeah.
But it turns out, nope, I was just absorbing water out of the hammock.
What are some things you think you could do to replicate hammock time in the winter?
I mean, I could put a hammock inside.
Does it have the same? Well, I mean, it wouldn't be the same, obviously. That goes without saying. Do you think you've
Yeah,
got like a fan?
to like blow air on me.
Yeah, or like to recreate. Do you maybe have like a recording of the neighbors mowing the lawn so it sounds like you're?
It's not necessarily even the outsidedness of it. I don't
Mm,
think there's something about the hammock and like kind of like sitting on it and swinging a little bit,
yeah.
that changes what's going on for me. I don't know how to explain it, because we had these hammock style swings back in the day when I was in high school at our lake cabin, but they were inside of our um, They're inside of our like gazebo, our screened-in porch. Which, you know what I realized? I still have not ever told your dad about a lie that I told him from over 20 years ago.
Oh, spill it. He doesn't listen to this.
I know. So your sister was in one of the Trollwood casts. It must have been Footloose. And she came down to my lake cabin for a gigantic cast party I threw. It was massive, like 150 kids. And the only parent who called was your dad.
That sounds about right.
Right? And he called the lake and he's like, oh, hey, yeah, you know, my daughter Brianna is down there and I just like to talk to your parents. Well, my parents weren't there. They were super neglectful, like, right? They didn't care. And here's the thing. It was very innocent. It was there was nothing, there's nothing nefarious going on. There was no drinking. But like, I didn't have my parents there, and I didn't want your dad to like make your sister come home because I'm sure she had, you know, ridden with like 4 or 5 people. And I'm sure at one point someone had assured her that there would be a parent there. So I was like, oh, my mom's out driving the boat right now with, you know, pulling some tubers. I'll have her call you when she gets back. And he's like, okay. So I take his number. Of course, my mom doesn't call because my mom's not there. And then he calls back like 2 hours later. And I pick it up and I'm like, oh, nope, you just missed her. She's still out on the boat. There's a lot of kids tubing.
This is awesome.
Yeah. And so like, and then like, I don't know if he ever gave, and then like on the third time he called, he's like, I need to talk to Brianna. So like, here you go. Because it was an era before cell phones, right? You know? So yeah, one of these days I should come clean to your dad and see if he remembers that situation.
Oh God! Well, that totally tracks because I remember I had multiple situations where I was having a great time at a theater party, and Dad came in as a killjoy and got me out of there, while everyone else got to keep hanging out because he knew, you know, funny business was going on. and just I just was like, God damn you, God damn you, man. So
like,
I could see him doing
pulling the fun out from underneath me.
So I could see him doing that to Brianna big time.
Right.
Well, I mean, you got to remember too, he was a teacher, right? So he was even more aware of these kind of things than and he taught theater, so he was pretty aware of the reality of one of the popular theater kids throwing a party at their parents' lake cabin. that just read that on paper, you're like, yeah, I could see why a dad might be worried.
There are some problems. We gotta address this.
There's a chaperone issue. But here's the thing too, like, I mean, let's just say Patty was there, right? She probably would have, you tell me if I'm wrong, she would have probably just like, oh, it's fine, they're all good, and then not pay attention to you guys at all.
Oh, 110%. Right, 110%. She, you know, and it's not like she was like, hey, just do whatever you want. That wasn't what my mom's MO was. She just sort of was like, they'll police themselves.
Yep.
You're right. You know, like they'll police themselves.
It's a variation of do whatever you want.
Yeah. All right. You know, like, just do what you want. You'll be fine, right? And I know that this will get a cringe from some people, but like maybe kids today need to do that a little bit more, right? Mm-hmm. Like there needs to be a world where they police themselves just a smidgen and get to do what they're supposed to.
Okay. Well, so let's put you in that theoretical situation. Let's say you have a daughter and she's 14. Okay. And you find out, you get home from work and you're like, you know, hey, where's Georgina? And Georgina's mother says, oh, she went to the lakes with friends for the weekend. She's going to, I guess they're having a theater gathering at Lake Cormorant. And it's this kid who's like really popular, and it's his family's lake cabin. And so she's going to go out there with her friends. And
now
I'm pretty sure there's going to be parents there, but I don't know. And that's what Georgina's mother says to you. What do you do at that point?
What's Georgina like leading up to this?
Georgina has been watching a soap opera in the living room of the house.
No,
Georgina
I don't
hasn't-
mean just that day. I mean, like, what kind of a daughter is she? Like, not what's influencing her thought at that moment.
Georgina, you know, she was always a good kid, but you know, there's a little more rebellion coming up with every year, and
Okay.
this is her second year as a teenager, and yeah, she's a little lippier than usual.
I am fine with it.
Okay.
I'm fine with it because if she's part of, like, if this is her theater group, right, and it's similar to a Trollwood-like experience, I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
And then your wife's or Georgina's mother Georgina's mother says, yeah, I guess there's going to be a lot of kids there, and you ask her, assuming it's a her. This person is a her.
Okay.
You ask Georgina's mother, what is the age of this H.H. Gordon house that she's going to?
And how popular is he?
He's popular enough that he's got about 50 kids coming to his mom's lake cabin, and he's 21 years old.
What?
This is a hypothetical. I'm asking you. Okay, you find out.
That is absolutely no.
You find out that Georgina, your 14-year-old daughter, is going to go to a H.H. Gordon's, who is a 21-year-old.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
He just turned 21. He just turned 21.
That's not the point.
At the beginning of summer, he just turned 21.
No. It would, if you told me he's 18, but he just graduated from high school, I'd be like, okay, so still within her peer group. This guy okay. That means that this guy graduated from high school when she was 11 years old.
Well, but you know what? It turns out he's the older brother of her classmate, and he's the chaperone. Turns out he's the chaperone. He's 21. He's the chaperone.
But she's framed it as she's going to his lake place.
Well, because
not her friend's lake place.
Because he's the adult in charge. That's why. But it's her friend Gideon. It's his place.
Okay, so it's Gideon's older brother, H.H. is going to be the.
So it's really Gideon,
the
Gordon.
adult.
Yep.
What do we know anything about H.H.?
You don't, but you do know that Georgina and Gideon have been sexting a lot.
No, that is absolutely not.
But hold on. H.H. is going to be there, and he's chaperoning. And and she's only staying there for 2 whole nights.
But here's the thing. Every night after Georgina's mother goes to bed, I look at her phone. Not Georgina's, my wife's phone. And I see that she's been texting HH inappropriately. And so I don't know why, but she seems to be obsessed with having her daughter go there. Maybe she's trying to work something out. So I would say that is a no-go.
I see.
It's just not going to happen. Does that answer your question about whether
it seems a little.
My 14-year-old daughter would be allowed to go there.
Seems a little strict to me. But,
does it?
I mean, but listen. I mean, your mom had a different approach than you do.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Like you are not going to let Georgina and Gideon just police themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay, here's another like kind of caveat to this situation here. There is there is a serial killer on the loose. And none of the people who are going to be at this party match the description of who the serial killer has been targeting.
Oh, then they're perfectly safe.
Well, you think so, but then what if one of them becomes a copycat? Because I'm always thinking about that. Is like, listen, I understand that, the son of Sam is no longer active, but what about a copycat?
Yeah, that's a good point. Another good point is that living in a state of 10,000 lakes, you'd think there would be more camp stabbings.
in the lakes area?
In Minnesota, you'd think that we would like Minnesota would be like a high amount of slayings at lakes with knives, machetes, and stuff.
I think the thing is, have you ever tried to wield a machete?
I've held one. My mom has a pile of machetes in her basement next to the toilet.
Really?
Yeah. But those machetes were used for like a cultural dance.
Oh, that makes it better. That makes it so much better.
I'm trying to remember what culture it is, but it was like a cultural dance that she used to teach the dance to. And so they're dancing machetes. They're not cutting a swath through a jungle machete. They're not that sharp, but they're very rusted.
Okay. Well, interesting. Well, I don't really have anywhere to go deeper on that, mainly because I'm now afraid to either make you or your mother mad, because you could come at me with a series of machetes, enough so that like if you were chasing me and I got you to drop one of the machetes, I'd be like, I'm safe now. You have other ones hidden around the area where you have first come at me.
Yeah, definitely stay out of my mom's basement.
That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. What would be better is if your mom had a bunch of Danny Trejos next to the toilet in her basement.